Y'all how old you were is because at your age I was raped and had a disease by your age by my uncle. So as she said, a lot of times people don't feel like it can happen to them. So I'm gonna just take y'all back to my real story. I know what I do, but the real story is first I was started to be molested at the age of 5 by my uncle. Everything that you do with an adult is everything my uncle was doing to me. At the age of 8 I told, and when I did tell, one of the reasons why I didn't tell was my uncle would always tell me, if you tell, your father not gonna speak to you no more. You know how that goes. You do this is gonna happen. Well, everything my uncle said that was gonna happen took place. My father and my mother believed me. I went to court, but like the families do, don't say anything, don't tell anybody. So they really wasn't there with us. At the time, my uncle was like a star basketball player, so all he got was probation, even though the doctors had made it very clear that he was molesting me, and everything that you would see in an adult woman, that was happening with me. My father got back on drugs, so he basically left. And that was around the age of 8. I would say 9. So at that time when that took place, I began to gain a lot of weight because that was basically my way out. I was a kid, so my thing was emotional eating, so I stayed home a lot, ate a lot, really withdrawn. And then around the age of 14, I told my mother something was wrong. She took me to the doctor. They told me I had HPV. So 20 years ago, that wasn't like what's on a commercial. Y'all probably see that as a commercial, but that was my life 20 years ago. And so now it was basically that I had worked so hard to get past that, and I had to relive it again because now I have to live with this disease for the rest of my life that my uncle gave me. I saw my uncle around the age of 15. When he looked at me, he laughed. He's never apologized. He's never said anything. My father came back in my life when I was 17, got in prison 3 months later. My father is serving a life term sentence now. He's been in prison for 20 years. So for me, it was like every time I got some sort of stability, if that's what y'all want to call it, something was taking place. 20 years old, my grandmother passed away. I'm my father's only child, so I became his parent. So I know what it's like when y'all say y'all go home and y'all parents, you the parent to your parent. I have 3 siblings. They are 22, and then it's 2 26-year-olds, so they're 10, 11, and 15 years younger than me. So I became a mom. My mother had to go to work. I didn't have a mother that was partying, so let me make it clear. I didn't have that upbringing where my mother was out in the street. My mother was at work. But as you know, when your mother go to work, you become the parent to your siblings. So 20 years old, we buried my grandmother. She had a heart attack from nowhere, died. 3 months later, my mom found out she had a brain tumor. So again, as I began to get some stability, something took place. So my mother signed my brothers and sisters over to me at 21 and didn't think she was going to live. My mother would be 60 years old in January. But again, at that time, because of all of those different things, I never really had an opportunity to grieve, if you want to say that, or really go through what I needed to go through. So in my 20s, I was very promiscuous. I would literally meet people online, sleep with them. I would drink. I would hang out with all of my girlfriends. And I began to go back into my father's life again. I would always try to reach out to my father up in Greater Brazil. He'd been there for years. Went up to see my father, thought it was going to be a surprise, like, oh, he'd be excited to see his only child. He asked me what was I there for. So I never got the I love yous from my dad. I would get the you too's if I say I love you, but it was never the loving and all of the different things that you would want. And honestly, I think it's because my father took a lot of guilt on when my mother went to work. My mother sent me to family's house, and because my father was on drugs. So I think he took a lot of that on, and so that kind of messed our relationship up. But again, at 27 was the last time, 27, 28 was the last time I seen my father. The last letter I got from my dad was a year and a half ago. He told me I can die, and he never wanted to see me again. Like, he's really mentally not there. So I got saved at 28. I'm 37 now. A lot of people think I'm a lot younger than what I am, but I'm 37. I'll be 38. So I got saved, so I started going to church and stuff like that. And I just began to realize that, you know how you go to church or whatever you believe in, they always tell you you're supposed to think of the good things, but they don't really tell y'all how y'all supposed to get there, but they tell you what y'all supposed to do. So I started my talk show where I brought people on there to share how they got to that point, because you can't tell somebody what they're supposed to be if they don't really understand how to get there. So that's what I started. Again, when I got some stability, because it was that 2015, Dominique was murdered. She was a Penn State student. She was murdered 3 years ago. I don't know if y'all seen it on TV. She was on 52nd and Market. She was like my little sister. Her mom is one of my best friends. So Dominique was murdered. And so I found myself on the other side of murder. Now, again, my father's in prison for murder. And I went through a lot with that because my father went on the run. So they couldn't get to my dad. They was trying to get to me. So I had to change my whole life around because my father didn't want to turn himself in. So his kids was looking for me for months. It was just like a really crazy time. And literally 10 days after I graduated high school, my father was sentenced to that life term. So it was like really hard for me at that time. But again, on that side of murder, when I walked in the courtroom, this my dad. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, this still my father at the end of the day. They looking at us like we did it. They cursing us out. And I'm literally just there because this is my father. So I know what a lot of times, I know y'all probably know somebody in here, either you may be on the side where you lost somebody, or you may know somebody that took somebody's life and you don't really want to tell nobody. They don't really grieve for us. But I got a lot more support, unfortunately, when Dominique passed. It didn't take away from what happened with my dad, but it was a lot different. And so I started bringing families onto my show to share their experience of losing their children or losing a loved one, because of the fact that I understood what it was like to lose a loved one. Dominique was literally the poster boy kid. Like, she'll tell you, she sang, she danced, she acted. She's moving to Los Angeles, beautiful girl. Went to get something to eat, supposed to take her finals that week. The girl got in an argument with Dominique at the bar. They didn't call the police, she called her family to come. You know how you call your people to come get you, we all do it. They came up there, they shot Dominique, her dad, and her grandfather, but she died. So everybody's life was instantly changed. She was their only daughter. But I found myself in this world where I just began to understand that all of the different things that I had been through was for somebody else. So I began to, again, start doing my show, bringing people on there, but I realized a lot of people is not comfortable talking like I'm talking to you guys. So I started something called the Epilogues. It's a fashion, art, and music movement, basically, where we paint the stories, and maybe through murals, music, fashion, we put it together and we tell the stories of people that are slain or maybe surviving opioid abuse, gun violence, rape, all those things, because that's basically my life. So I did that, as she said, as I got a little bit more stability, I moved to Los Angeles because it did really very well here. It sold out every single time. So I moved to Los Angeles to get to film. I came to visit in September, almost died. I was hit by a drunk driver on board of Venango. So now I'm back in Philadelphia. And of course, like the first 2 months, I was really like questioning what I was back here for, because I just had, like, y'all hear it every time, something is just like boom. But God is really funny that way. So now that I'm back, I'm actually starting a museum. It's an interactive museum where you'll actually be able to go and literally experience the stories. One of the issues that I found with the shows is that when people come, there was nothing after. You come, you go home, you experience it, you go home. So this is actually an every single day thing where you'll be able to come there, see their stories, feel their stories. It'll be spoken word, music, fashion room, all of the different things that we do. But it'll be art, music, and fashion therapy afterwards, as well as mental health resources. So it's literally like I guess you could say the Please Touch Museum meets the Louis Vuitton thing, because you know how the Please Touch Museum when you were a kid is interactive, but you go to like an actual fashion room and it's very fashion forward. So that's basically what it is. So Cindy asked me to come and talk to you guys today. I know that I have lived so much more different things, but I don't really like talking at kids. I'm really big on allowing you guys to talk to me, so I'll probably go around and ask you questions. But I like to give my story because a lot of adults try to tell y'all what not to do, but they don't tell you what they went through. But I have experienced a lot. Praise God that I have been healed of that disease, but that came through forgiveness. At 28, I wrote my uncle a letter on Facebook. He blocked me, but I had to do that because I had to let go of what he did. He's probably never going to apologize, but I honestly don't care, because what he did, it pressed me forward in a place where my relationship with God is so strong. Nobody can tell me God is not real. For me to be healed, for me to be used the way that I am, I literally used to be so out there. Like, I would be out there like 5 o'clock in the morning, leaving the do house. I probably didn't even know him. Going home, nothing never happened to me. How many times y'all see somebody on the news, they outside and something happened? I mean, it was like God would clear the whole neighborhood. Nobody would be walking. I would always make it home. You can't tell me God not real, because I have lived a lot of things. I have literally walked. I can't even tell you how I would get from one neighborhood to the other. I don't even remember nothing that happened. Nothing would ever happen to me. But in our untreated trauma, I was using men, I was using drinking, and all of those different things to basically find love. Because for me, love was equated with me doing something. My uncle said, if you love me, you'll do this. If you love me, you'll do this. So that's what I did. If I loved him, I was to have sex with my uncle. So if I loved a person, or if I wanted to receive love, I would overwork, try all the things y'all do, try to be friends with all the wrong people. Betrayal was a big thing for me, because I would get close with girls, and you know how they go. Y'all females know how they go. They not really your friends. They basically kind of like get jealous of whatever it is about you that they don't feel like they have, when all they have to do is just be themselves. So I went through a lot of that. But again, it has allowed me to go into rooms like this, and I can look at all of y'all little eyes squinting. I know half of y'all got the same story that I have, or a part of my story. And so it may not feel good now, because at y'all age, I was in school, I probably would have been asleep. I didn't fight. My thing wasn't fighting in school. I used to fight my mother a lot. I caused all types of beats. I don't know how I'm alive and she didn't kill me. But me and my mom went through a lot. Because I was so angry, because she had this new family to me. My siblings, again, was born when I was younger, and here I am over here, so I felt like I was left out because they didn't go through nothing. So I'm not saying they never went through anything ever, but they weren't going through anything at the time. And so the jealousy comes in. You mad? I got another little sister. I got 2 brothers. And my mom is trying to do stuff different by them because she don't want the same thing. But you don't understand it as a kid. So me and my girlfriends, we would cut school. We did all types of stuff. But I promise you, with all this stuff, I don't know if y'all know about the party line because they too young for that. But we used to get on the party line. We had no cell phones. Will you tell them? We had no cell phones. Like, I was traveling from South Philly to Northeast, whatever, meeting dudes, knowing what I do with my mom. Never knew what I was doing. Nothing never happened to me. So the fact that y'all are here, y'all see how many times these kids are being buried. The youngest kid that I did in my show was like 15. He died like a week prior to the show. It is so many different kids. One of the girls that was at my first show when I did the epilogue, her boyfriend shot and killed her the next year. I had to commemorate her the next year. And she walked in the show the year prior. So you don't really know when your time is coming. When I came here, I was going home. I was trying to support my girlfriend. I was in a car accident. The girl was drunk coming from Made in America. Drunk. Overserved her and slammed right into us. I could have died, but I'm back here because God wanted me to be here. So all the stuff that y'all are going through, it may feel like it's a lot, but I promise you, if you really just tap into what you're feeling and allow yourself to feel, it's really for somebody else because somebody else can't handle what you're handling. So you'll be able to recognize that and help them to get through it. So God has preserved me to be this age and to be able to be here. I do have a show actually coming out with a 16-year, 18 was kind of like a breakfast club for young kids because, again, I don't really like talking at you guys. I would much prefer to talk to you guys. So this is what we're about to be doing. Actually starts in January. I didn't even announce that, but I'm announcing it this week. But yeah, so like if you guys have any questions, I'll probably go around and ask you some. But if you have any questions first, you can. But that is my portion of my story.
Okay.
Okay.
All right.
All right. Do you guys